Hi there. It's time to go live with ML Bailey Consultants and Stress Talk. We are talking about emotions. We're going to spend a few weeks talking about them, as a matter of fact. And in a moment, we're going to talk about how to reduce stress with three healthy ways. I'm going to share those ways in just a second. Hi there. I'm Marcyline Bailey, and I am your host for Stress Talk Live. This is the place where we help women over 40 live healthier lives through strategic stress management and solution focused self care. We're going to move into a, a, a time where we're going to talk about emotions. And I want to talk about emotions because emotions is something that we often avoid. We avoid them. Yeah, we do. Tell the truth. We avoid emotions, especially emotions that are are not pleasant emotions. I talk to so many women who practice suppressing their emotions, especially those emotions that don't feel so good, that are hurtful or remind them of painful experiences. They suppress them and they just try to keep them tamped down. Well, when we suppress our emotions, we are causing our stress levels to increase. They go up and they stay up. Why? Because we're using a lot of energy to keep those emotions down. And today I wanted to talk about three things that we need to do in order to get to become more knowledgeable about the emotions that we feel and to not be afraid of them. So I'm just going to jump into it. Well, no, I'm not going to jump into it just yet. First, I'm going to invite you to like, follow, and subscribe to ML Bailey Consultants on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Yes, those platforms are still up and running. Um, in some way or fashion. So follow, like, and subscribe to Emma Bailey Consultants. Also, you can find more about Emma Bailey Consultants at this link. This is a tap link. You'll find some downloads and information that I think might be really helpful for you. You might be interested in. And you can always go to my website. Yes, my website. So, what are we talking about today? We're going to talk about how to reduce stress with three healthy ways to so that you can feel your emotions. And when I'm talking about feeling emotions, I'm going to explain what that means and exactly how that looks. Okay. And then we're going to share several things that you can do in order to begin to reduce your stress. And as I've always said, shared with you, I don't just give you, tips that you can find like on in a search, simple things to do. I like to go deep and give you some foundational principles, some foundational steps that you can use in order to keep your stress levels down. Because when your stress levels are low, you're healthier, your body feels better, you feel better emotionally and mentally and physically. So, we're going to go into our topic right now. Let me pull up some notes so I can see what I'm talking about. See what I'm talking about. Okay. So, we're talking about three ways that you can reduce your stress. And those three ways, um, I think they can be very helpful. They're not things that you can just, you know, do today and then tomorrow you go on to something else. These are actions that need to be done repeatedly and practiced so that they become habits. I talk about habit forming a lot, but just think about it. When you get out of bed, you probably get out, put the same leg out of the bed and on the floor every day, and you don't even think about it because it's a habit. You probably have the same routine that you follow, hygiene routine that you follow every day. It is a habit. And so, with what I'm sharing with you today, I want you to practice it so that it becomes a habit. Because when you practice it and it's a habit, you'll do it automatically. You won't think about it, and it'll be ingrained just in your daily routine. So, the first part of this, these three ways that I want to share with you, is I want to talk about sensations. Um, what are, I want you to understand, we have to understand what emotions are. And so that's the first step, understanding what emotions are. When we talk about emotions, we talk about things like happy, sad, angry, um, angry. Um, let's see what else. I mean, there's a ton of things that we can come up with to describe emotions. And when we talk about emotions, we're talking about something, but oftentimes we're not really sure what we're talking about. When I say that I'm happy, people kind of know what that means, but do they really know what what I'm talking about? And I know you're saying, sure, people know what happy is, but do they understand what happy means for me personally? Do they understand what to what degree or extent that I am experiencing happiness? These are all things that when we talk about emotions, we really need to be able to define. So, in order to understand what emotions are, we really need to know where it comes from. Well, first of all, as I said in the description of this video, emotions are natural. They're natural responses. Oftentimes, they are triggered by our stress response. Remember, the stress response is a um, is a is a reaction, a physical reaction to an unspecified. Sorry, I need some water. It's a physical reaction to an unspecified stimulus. So, what does that mean? What it means basically is that if I see something that startles me, I have a reaction. If I see something that I find aversive, um, it causes a reaction. If I see something that causes me to experience pleasure, I have a reaction. And those reactions are physical. So our emotions are based in biology. There is a physical reaction to an external stimulus, something outside of us, something that we have experienced through our senses, eyes, nose, ears, mouth, meaning taste or touch, has caused us to experience a sensation. That sensation is we experience it in a certain way that triggers an emotion. So, emotions have a biological origin. Not only that, our emotions begin in our brain. So, so you've often heard me say that there is a connection between what we think and how we feel. What we think and the emotion we experience. And that's very true. So I can, for example, um, I can see someone who is very sick. And we know that flu is going around, the upper respiratory um, illness is going around. But let's say I see someone who has the flu, and let's say they vomit in front of me. Now, I'm going to try to go the other way because I don't want to touch the fluids, but also I'm going to have a reaction to that. And that reaction may be one of disgust. I might be disgusted, right? I'll go like, ooh, right? And it's disgust that I'm experiencing. And I might really be disgusted to the point of I've got to leave the room or get away from it. Now let's think for a second that that person who is vomiting in front of me is someone that I know, like one of my daughters. I'm going to have a different reaction. I'm going to say, "Oh my gosh." And I'm going to feel love and compassion and empathy for her because it's my child. What I'm seeing is basically the same. Someone has an upset stomach and they are vomiting, but my reaction is different because of my thoughts. When I see my daughter sick to her stomach, I am concerned and I'm moved. If I see a stranger sick to their stomach, I have I may have a reaction of disgust and I want to get away from them. So there's a thought that's attached to the emotion. And that thought, that emotion will trigger a behavior. Okay? So emotions are really sensations, and we can feel those emotions in our bodies. The body, the brain, our senses take in information. Our brain interprets that information. The brain makes some type of decision or concept about that information, and we have an emotion that we feel. The brain sends chemicals throughout our body. There's a chemical reaction. So essentially, it is a biological reaction. Okay? So we need to understand that when we are experiencing emotions, it's not just some nebulous thing, it is a physical, biological reaction that we're having. This is important to know because, again, the stress response is a physical reaction to an unspecified, right? An unspecified stimulus. So emotions are very similar. So the first thing that we need to do in order to um, experience our emotions in healthy ways and reduce our stress is to understand the biology around emotions. Okay. The next thing we want to do is we want to be able to define our emotions. So if you ask a friend, or if you ask a kid, ask a child, how are you doing? The most common response is, I'm good. Do you say that too? When you're asked, how are you doing? Do you say, I'm good? Or do you say, I'm okay? Or, yeah, I'm okay. I'll do, right? Those are the types of words that we hear when someone is asked, how are you? Good or not so good or bad. I work in a school system and I listen to kids all the time say things like, I'm being good or I'm being bad. What does that mean? I hear adults say to, as I said, how are you doing? I'm good or I'm okay. We rarely describe how we are doing using words or emotion terms that describe emotions. Why? I think because we don't, again, we do not use emotions. We don't describe emotions. Um, we don't often, um, we don't, uh, we're not real clear about emotions. And so it's really, again, important to be able to describe what emotion you're experiencing. So instead of saying good versus bad or happy or sad, we need to be specific. And I'm going to let's see if I can share my screen with you and pull up. Here we go. So, this is an emotion checklist from the American Psychological Association. Now, if you can see this checklist, yeah, you can see it. Okay, I'm going to um, I'm going to share a little bit about what it says. At the very top, it has emotion words checklist. So, calm to relaxed is at the top. You see that here. Let's see. That's there. I don't know if I can highlight it, but that's that one. Fortunate, lucky, joyful, elated, appreciative, grateful, pleased, proud, able, or competent. So you see, there are all of these words that describe how someone is feeling. The reason this particular list is so good is because it gives you all of these words to use that describe being calm. You can say that you're at ease, at peace, you're feeling comfortable, you're feeling content, you're cozy, you're mellow, you're relieved, you're rested, you're safe, you're serene, you're unruffled. These are important words, and I'm going to share why. They're important words because oftentimes when we just give a blanket statement, we forget that when it comes to emotions, there's a continuum or a range of emotions that are very similar. For example, I could say that I'm calm and I could say that I'm relaxed, right? Those words basically mean the same thing, but there is a slight difference. If I'm relaxed, is that does that totally describe the sense of being comfortable? It could, but maybe not. If I am at ease, would I look a little differently than I am relaxed? Because I can be relaxed at work, right? I'm comfortable when I'm at home. I can be relaxed at work, but I'm comfortable when I'm at home. There's a difference in those two words. And so we want to become more we want to become comfortable not only defining the emotions that we are experiencing, but also talking about the emotions on a continuum so that it's clear to us what we are actually experiencing, and so that we can describe more adequately to others what we are experiencing. Another example that I will use is happy. Is happy the same as elated or joyful? I was happy to I've been happy, and I'm happy a lot. I'm happy that my package got here. The package that I ordered, I was happy that it arrived or in a time earlier than I expected. But I was elated and joyful when my daughters were born. Two different descriptions, basically meaning the same thing. I was overjoyed when I got married. I was blissful during my vacation, right? So when we say I'm happy, it doesn't always describe exactly what we're experiencing, the emotion that we're experiencing. So we want to get into the habit of looking at the words, looking at synonyms, looking at words that basically mean the same, but describe more adequately what we are experiencing. Now, you might say, hey, I don't want to have to tell everybody that. Well, it's not so that you can tell other people necessarily. The importance is so that you yourself understand your own emotions and what you're experiencing. And that's the third way. We've talked about understanding what emotions are, and they are biological sensations or sensations that are based in biology. I've also talked about how it's important to define emotions instead of basic terms like good, bad, happy, sad, having a broader range of terminology or vocabulary to describe how you're feeling, to describe your emotions. And now I'm talking about how it's important for you to understand your experience of emotions, your own experience of emotions. So, how do you do that? Number one, we have to acknowledge that we're experiencing emotions. You know, it's so we do go do this all the time. We say things like we may experience anger, and someone will say, "I know you're angry," and what do? No, I'm not. I'm not angry. But our body language shows it, our manner with the other person shows it, our staccato statements show it, demonstrate. The way we're behaving indicates or suggests that we are angry, but we say, no, we're not. I'm not angry. I'm not. Well, yeah, you are. We learned at an early age that we could not express anger. If you grew up in a household similar to mine, you could not say to your parent, I'm angry or I'm mad with you. You couldn't say it. Now that's across the board. I've heard this from so many people. Yep, nope, I couldn't tell my parents I was angry. When we raised our daughters, who are now adults, the one thing that I said to them is, if you're angry, you can say, I am angry. You cannot yell at me, you can't raise your voice at me, but you have to be respectful, but you can tell me that you're angry. And then I want to know what's causing you to be angry. And the reason I did that is because I wanted them to be aware of how they are feeling. Because if I'm feeling anger and I'm telling you I'm not angry, or I'm telling myself I'm not angry, I can't be angry, anger is not allowed, I'm going to have a problem because I'm suppressing that emotion. So, first, we have to acknowledge what we are experiencing. Whether we tell somebody or not, we need to tell ourselves what emotion we're experiencing. And you can pull up a list like the one I just showed you to choose the right words. You don't have to stick with those basic emotions. You can choose the correct words to describe how you are experiencing the emotion and the emotion you are experiencing. When we're able to accurately label the emotions, that also helps us. And that's what I was talking about. Download a list of emotion words and use that list. In therapy, I either direct my clients to a list of emotion words or I give them a list of emotion words. And I tell them, hey, if you're having trouble describing your emotions or naming your emotions, go through this list. It's okay. Just go through the list and choose the one that fits. That's okay. Because we have to acknowledge the emotion that we're experiencing, and we can only acknowledge it if we can accurately label it. If we know the word to use and the correct word that describes the intensity. The next thing that we want to do is connect those emotions to experiences. When do you feel certain emotions? Is there a pattern to the experience and the emotion? Are there certain things that happen that cause you to experience certain emotions? So connect experiences to your emotions. Then, what's the level of intensity? I touched upon that a little bit earlier. I can be happy, but I can feel elated. I can be happy or I can be ecstatic, right? What is the level of intensity as it relates to the emotion that you're experiencing? And then keep a journal, write it down, or share it with a friend. Share those things with someone you trust. But in order to understand your emotions and in order to get a grasp of them, you want to acknowledge them, label them accurately, and then connect them to experiences. So we're just beginning our discussion about emotions. We're going to be doing this all the rest of this month, at least, and maybe into the next month. But I wanted to start you with some points that you can think about for this week. We're talking about how to reduce stress with 3 healthy ways in order to feel your emotions. The first is understanding sensations, understanding what emotions really are. The next is knowing how to define and accurately describe emotions. And then the third thing is to understand your own emotions. When you're able to do those three things, that's when you can lower your stress levels because you can take it to another level without causing yourself any harm. Well, that's all for now. I'm Marcyline Bailey. I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you next time. But as far as we go now, I'm just going to say, take good care.